Hi, nice to meet you all. It's a pleasure to be here. I met Tatiana and Daria in an online course, I think maybe last year, right? And it's just so nice that we kept connected because I really like this way of supporting one another. So thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here. Uh, so I have founded this company called ANTHEA, Reimagine Midlife. And that was born out of some pain, right? So I had the start of my career, I spent 20 years working in financial markets. And then around age 42, I had a real crisis of lack of purpose. Um, then I took like a second round in my career and I became a board member of large corporations here in Brazil. I'm from Brazil, by the way, sorry. And so I kind of was able to use my financial knowledge to have a seat at the table. But the idea was to push companies toward more sustainable practice. So that was like a second chapter that really fulfilled me for 12, 13 years. But then closer to age 50, I started having another, something was inside of me that I couldn't really name. And but I was able to slow down enough to ask questions to myself like what else is out there? Like what else is life? What can it be? What do I want to do? Everybody talking about longevity and all this extra 40 years that we gained. And I was actually getting kind of anxious about that because, I'm not sure I want to live until 100 years doing what? That was like my struggle. I want to, I don't think like I'm going to be retired or, just enjoying without doing any kind of work. And so I started having my own questions and very different questions. And so I spent the next 3, 4 years studying mental health, longevity, career transitions, group facilitation. And at one moment, I decided, all these things that are nourishing me, that are giving me energy and are helping with some of these questions I have, they could be offered for other people that are, having the same kind of turmoil, internal turmoil, right? And as a matter of fact, I started noticing that just about everybody I knew was kind of something similar, maybe not necessarily professionally, but in other midlife transitions like body changes and relationship changes and all the whole package, right? So Antea was born out of my own pain and curiosity, right? And then I started, this to help other people. Did I answer a question there? Sorry.
No, no, no. It sounds like a real story, like all great projects usually are born because yeah, when we feel something really important for us, it's the most honestly way to help other people. So it's all the time really touchless to hear it. So, and can you describe what really happens during midlife? I mean, everyone has their own way
Yeah.
and feel different, but at the same time, to understand that it's happened not just with you can help other
Sure.
women who are not at this time, at the period, or like in my situation now, like to understand what happened with my mom. So it's
Yeah.
really interesting to hear what's
Mhm.
happened.
Yeah, I think almost every woman I work with describes some version of disorientation. Let's, mm, I think that's kind of a good word for it. And well, first, I find it helpful to separate the two concepts. And this difference is from William Bridges. He studies a lot transitions. And so he makes a distinction between change and transition, right? So change is external, everything that is happening to you, right? So children leaving home, hormonal shift, a parent aging, a career plateau, right? So this happens to us, the changes. But the transition is internal. It's the psychological process of letting go of an old identity and growing into a new one, right? Um, it's almost it's slower, right, and messier than the change. But if you take the right amount of time and reflection to live through it and not deny it, the new beginning is could be much more thorough and exciting. So he also makes this, he calls the anatomy of a transition, because we're used to stories with like beginning and middle and endings, right? So he shifts it and he says the transition starts with an ending. So the ending can be very concrete, like I got a divorce, right? But it can also be something like an internal shift, like I'm not happy in this job anymore. I didn't necessarily resign, but something internal shift in a way that it's not going to be there anymore. It's so living in this, what he calls the neutral zone, that it is after the ending, is very important for the new beginning finally to take place. So this neutral zone, which is also called, can be called the liminal space, right? Is very uncomfortable. So it's a very disorienting space with no clear map, because the only thing you know is that whatever worked in the first half of life, it's not going to be the same. Like you have different questions, you have different values, you have different priorities. So how do you transition into new possible roles and possible selves without getting stuck to those old roles, right? You know what I mean? So, and it's a lot of things, as I mentioned, that change in this period of our lives between, I say midlife. People usually ask me, how old is that? It's between 40 and 60, even 65. It depends. But it's whenever you start feeling that, it's no longer that, but what is gonna be? And it's very, it's usually very insecure and vulnerable places, because you have to stand in the not knowing, you know. Um, like sometimes even if you have like a very successful career, it's sometimes even harder because you're stuck, to that badge and to that status, and you can be miserable, but it takes some courage to let go and maybe start something new. So what he brings with this theory is that a new beginning, a fulfilling one, and maybe one more honest with ourselves, can only be built if you spend this messy time, in the liminal space, because it's during this space that innovation and creativity can be born, right? So it's usually that. everything together all at once, not just, profession or kids or parents. It's usually everything. And in addition, our dear menopause, right? Which is not a piece of cake for some of us. So, yeah, it's a lot.
And what about, I mean, it's, all psychologists say like we have all during all our life, we have from the very, very start, we have all these crises. Yes, like when we're a child and after and after. Is it different crisis? I mean, this midlife, because maybe it's more things which scare you, or so is it toughness that previous one, like when we are younger and so on? How what does it feel?
I think well, it varies from people to people. I think maybe the hardest is, when we're teenagers because we have less resources, right? But on the other hand, it's very studied period of our lives. So it's easier to get help. Like everybody knows that being a teenager is hard. But these transitions in midlife, it's not like we talk about it all the time, right? So we think of my menopause itself. Like usually women, well, I myself, I had experience of going through several doctors with several different symptoms until someone said, well, this could be menopause because I was like losing my memory. I was feeling insecure at my job. Like, am I gonna have some problem like Alzheimer's? I felt really insecure and I was like 40, but it was already a beginning of something that, thank God, went away. But, and I had, everything hurting in my body. It was like they would send me to an orthopedist, a psychiatrist, and all kinds of doctors. I mean, it has a name. For me, it was such a relief, you know. But so I think there are some taboos, and also it's hard for people to ask for help when they're struggling, especially if they have a successful life. Externally, everything looks perfect, but then, even if you are in a good marriage, for instance, after kids grow and fly the nest, it's a whole different marriage, right? Either you make like renew your vows with other arrangements, or you see this huge trend of great divorce, right? That's happening because people just don't connect anymore. They don't know each other anymore, right? So yeah, I think it's hard one time and one side, but on the other side, if you are aware that these things have a name and have an explanation, and by the way, almost everyone is struggling with in one of these fields, right? So I created ANTHEA to be exactly this place where people can, talk about everything without, all the masks that we usually perform in our lives, on our corporate lives, or, you know. So I think I like to reframe the midlife crisis, naming to a midlife awakening, maybe midlife opportunity. But if you do the work, right, you have to do the work of, letting go of things that don't work for you anymore and trying new stuff, even if you're afraid, have a curiosity and a growth mindset because I usually say that what makes us old is not our age, is how do I say that in English? Rigidity. Does it make sense? Like when you're rigid and you're stuck with this idea, or you have these mindsets and this very limited ideas of possibilities for yourself. So when you have this kind of mentality, you don't think it's worth like to start learning a new thing, to start maybe another career, a new business like I did, right? Everybody looks at you when things are going well and think the path was easy, but no transition is easy. That's that's a lie. I mean, it always has some kind of, pain of letting go something, some your comfort zone, the thing you know and do well. Sometimes this competence is a prison, right? Is a prison because you want to keep being competent so you don't try new things. And it's so important to try new things in midlife. So we keep, having sparkle in our eyes and, vitality. You know what I mean? If not, life gets boring. And who wants to have a boring life until 100 years old, right? No way, right? Yeah, I see and agrees with me.
Yeah, and I really like the point that it should be renamed. I mean, because for example, when people, it's really common, like, oh, it's teenagers, they have a hormonal,
Yeah.
this process, and yeah, it will be okay, and it looks like people know what to do or just keep it time, so it will goes you will go
Away.
through, it's easy, you are young, yeah. But yeah, it's like I don't want to say word shame, but yeah, it's like taboo. You thought it really
Mhm.
well. Yeah, so the idea to, and also because you are adult, so you can solve it. It's something like
Yes.
this, like you not should, but you must solve it. And
Mm.
yeah, it sounds weird, but
It's
because I
lonely.
think,
It can be very lonely. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, and also one of the thing, and you told your story was about working in corporation, and yeah, the same question my mother now have. She's working for a long time in a bank, so and yeah, she growing, and she made her career after 13 years sitting with me and my sister at home. So she is like a warrior. So she's, yeah, like starting when she was already with two babies, not babies, it's teenagers already. So it's two teenagers, and it's also crazy time. But also she started a new career at that period when people just starting to know all this computer stuff. So, and yeah, now she's in a good position, but she's really really tired. And why is retirement so emotionally challenging? Because I think it's one of their main point also during this
Yes.
transition.
Yes, you're right. And again, I think it's hard, especially for high achievers, um, because this identity and the role have kind of fused, they're just one. So who am I without this badge? So it's not just in retirement, but maybe, a layoff, a career shift. So it's not just a schedule that changes, It's like of the support of your own self, you know. So and it happens a lot, I think, more with men because women in general are more open to self-reflection and have better self-knowledge, so they start preparing uh, earlier. But I see many men going depressive after they retire, right? So what is my value? Who am I? I don't even know how to introduce myself. So I think that's what makes it harder. And I guess the way, and of course, there's also the financial part, but I'm talking the psychological part, right? So it's not just the financial planning. Even people that are all figured out financially, uh, we have added 40 extra years to our life span in 1 century. That's a lot. I mean, life expectancy doubled in 1 century from 40 years old to an average of 80 years old now. And some of us that are, privileged to have, access to good health care and take care of ourselves, we're probably going to live to 100 years. So the way to prepare for retirement, it's not just financial planning. You have to start doing this identity work before the ending arrives, not after. So, like, start experimenting different relationships and interests. Nah, that's usually very, very good because our the the people that are closer to us, they usually cannot see us differently. Like, they're the first ones that are going to say, don't do that. Are you crazy? You have a solid career. Stay in the bank, right? And it's not that they don't want us to be happy because it's a conservative survival mechanism, I think. They don't want us to take risks. So it's very important to get to know people out of your bubble, you know, just different people because they are not attached to your former self. They can see everything becoming possible while you're, having these moments of creativity. Should I try this? Should I try that? So you need a new kind of a new tribe, that will help you. And I'm not saying to do anything irresponsible. Of course, it's not like we go crazy and we leave everything and start from zero. It's never from zero. It's adding, right? It's about integrating, adding. So if you don't want it or you can't take like a big risk of making a major transition, you can start by having small tastes on the side. Like, go mentor a startup, for instance. Go join an NGO on your, weekends and start living some other roles that you think would be a good fit for you in your next chapter, right? So you don't turn one thing off one day and have to turn another thing. Remember, the neutral zone requires that we feel things more than, just use our heads. I don't tell like my clients to make a plan. You don't know where you're gonna end. You just have to feel which is the way, right? Because as you were saying in the beginning, Daria, for me, like this time that I'm living now, I don't feel like work. It's what I want, it's what I'm living, it's my own struggle. So it's like it's not even feeling like work because and I had no idea of the outcomes before I started. I just wanted to, I want to keep studying this field. I love to study. And eventually, this study was kind of someone provoked me, like, well, you've been studying a lot. Let's put some of it out to the world. You love to study, make the study your work. So that was a shift for me. Wow, if I could, not work, I would be studying all the time. Why not use this study to, help other people? So I started with a newsletter, and then eventually I built this group coaching program. So, I didn't have for the first time in my life, I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have the financial planning. And it's not because I went nuts, but I wanted to, like pilot some things, with the freedom to test and learn like a startup, test and learn, fail fast. But don't put all your cards in one thing if you're not sure yet.
Yeah, it's really reasonable because yeah, my mom just thinking, and we are talking like, oh, maybe I should do this, but she's like afraid, like she should choose something
Okay.
new, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like to go to the other job. But I try to describe her that it's like the way. First of all, I guess she need to have a rest because
Yeah.
she's really really tired. Yeah, but she is tired and at the same time really scared, like this shift could be, this period could be like the worst, but yeah, I
Hmm.
guess it's like exercises, and you told really well. It's a good comparing it with startup. Yeah, just try and learn, and it looks like exercise. Yeah, like one of the exercise to try something on the weekend or something like this, but also maybe about daily routine. I guess it's changed a lot after you are retired from the everyday corporation work, and so
Hmm.
maybe is there any exercise to to change your daily routine? Maybe you can recommend something.
Okay. Well, I think first of all, you have to, put in your daily routine the things that you always wanted to do when you just didn't have the time or the chance, right? Usually, people that are like your mom, and it was my case, like they're to the limit, not taking care of themselves, like exercising enough, having lunch with their friends on a not special Tuesday. So try to put these things in your agenda, and also save some space to study new fields that you want to as want to explore, and the study can be an actual course, but can also be like living some real experience in a project, for instance, like shadowing someone in their job to see if you'd like to do that, or again, talking to different people to know what's out there, because sometimes we don't even know what's out there, let alone think we're able to do whatever could be out there, right? So I think you have to save room for self-care, exercise, but also save room to study and to expand the network. As I said, just schedule coffee with people with no agenda, because you don't know what could happen. So you just want to explore. You don't want to close. You want to open before you close, right? So, and there are some reflection exercises that I think can be incorporated in the routine, like let me think. Like one I like to use like a metaphor of a backpack, right? Because we arrive at this age with a pretty full and heavy backpack. So if we want to be able to travel lighter, the first thing is to let go of things we don't want anymore, right? And this is the metaphor because it could be actual things like, do I still need this? But it could be, beliefs that no longer serve you. It could be roles that you don't want to play anymore. It could be people you don't want to hang out anymore, that drains your energy as opposed to give you energy. So I think it's less mental, but you have to feel what is giving you pleasure, with what kind of people, what kind of subject interests you. So, but in order to feel that, you have to have silence and space, right? If you already replace your job with some crazy schedule, you're not going to do the work. You're going to stay stuck in the liminal space, or even more dangerous, you're going to repeat, because we are conservative. We're going to repeat. People get into very similar relationships. People get into very similar jobs, very similar bosses if they don't do the work, because we tend to repeat, we tend to go into autopilot, even if it's making us miserable, so this is really something we have to exercise, right, to embrace the new. And so I think exercising, what could you let go of this backpack, what have I been doing that I no longer want to do. And on the other hand, what do you want to put in that backpack? So, like, what do you want to feel more on an ordinary Tuesday? Not on vacation, not on a big occasion. What do you want to feel more in your daily routine? And how can you get that feeling, maybe in a new kind of work, maybe not, maybe a hobby, but um, I think we get into this age, the midlife, with kind of a sense of urgency. Like we know time is, we still have 50 years ahead, but time has a new meaning. I mean, we don't want to spend time with people we don't like, right? People who don't really care for us. I mean, we don't want to do this effort anymore because we've done so much that on the first half of life, and it's all right. I mean, we were in a different, objective. We had to like build a life, build a career, you know, make money, buy a house, have a family. So it was a lot of like the little animals in the I don't know in English, the wheel. We
Hamster
don't
wheel.
even stop. How do you call it? It's
They say hamster wheel.
hamster
Hamster,
wheel.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
So we don't want to be in the hamster wheel anymore, right? Um, so I think this exercise, help us to see what we want to bring into our lives. And another question that I think is helpful is like if that's good for your mother. If you stripped away every title role you currently hold, what is still standing there? Do you even know? Lots of people don't even know what's standing there without the badge, without the role. So it's important to stop and think about that because maybe lots of your connections weren't about who you are, were about your title, and that's true. Some people will not pick up the phone anymore, but these are not your people. This is not the people you want to spend your precious time with. So, but it has some griefing to be done. I'm not fantasizing, you just hang out with nice people, but you know, do these people really matter to me? Because if they're just getting my calls because I'm a board member, well, I don't want to be with them, right? So, yeah. Did I answer your question? Sorry, I got a bit.
Yeah, thank you. It's really useful. I guess I really like the idea of repack your backpack. It's sounds like a game, and
Yeah.
even it could be like yeah, like not just metaphor, but to put to baskets and to offer mother to write something on this different like to have a glass of wine with her and to talk and do it like a game. Why not?
Yes,
I just
yes. Yeah,
like
that's good.
especially I'm that kind of daughter which all the time somewhere. So and I guess this time with her and this way to make it light. I mean, not just this hard
Mhm.
talk. Yeah, about
Yeah.
how it's difficult, but yeah. And the next question. How can we support? I mean, you had the spirit in your life, and you also have all your clients, all your friends around who also have this period. What's the best way to support person
Mhm.
in this period? Because, yeah, you said
Okay.
really correct. The closest people, sometimes the worstest. Helpers.
Yeah.
So how to do it gentle?
Yeah, I think yeah, you're right. The instinct is usually to fix, advise, reassure, like you find something new, right? You'll be great at retirement. And almost none of it lands because it skips the ending, instead of honoring it. There has to be a grief. So I think what actually helps is like first listen without an agenda. You're not there to fix anything, just presence. Presence outperforms advice, I would say, almost every time, right? And then ask questions. Ask open questions rather than close. Like instead of what's your plan, that will only give anxiety. It's like, what are you noticing about yourself these days? what goes in your mind in an empty schedule, you know? So you help the person to open, to reflect, and third, I would say resist the urge to speed up their neutral zone. Like their disorientation is not your problem to fix, to solve, you know. So don't make like comparisons like, oh, your cousin retired and she loves it. Or you should be enjoying this. Now you have the time for yourself that you never had, you know? So even we need to honor that it's hard, but don't rush. Like, what's your next chapter? Like, you know? So yeah, and I think just presence, just listen. Sometimes we just need to talk and have, you know, someone really listening to us and being there with us in our pain, right?
Can I add something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a perspective about this. It does seem like what we're talking about is the stage before we reach this transition. Like you were saying, it's a time of building a family, a career. I think it's surviving in the world that we're living in. And so it's a very kind of, let's say, masculine. You're
Mm-hmm.
just working, you're grinding, you're surviving. And so then
Yeah.
you get to this point where, okay, I've done all that. But now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And life brings about changes, even if we're not seeking it. I think we're forced
Mm-hmm.
into this.
Sure.
Um, so it's a difficult time of kind of shedding and then also tuning into our senses a bit more, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and like you said, experimenting with different things, being around different people, just to see what sparks us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Thank you,
Completely
Tara.
agree.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just I really want to hear your stories because I guess the girls have what to also what to share. That's why I don't want to add more my question, and I really see some question in chat. Pitty, just yeah, I see the Lynn words like referring to the comment about men or women feeling crazy at retirement. Do you think this is a US issue or does it apply to other cultures? I feel that retirement might be different in different cultures. What do you think?
Okay. Well, I can tell you about our culture in Brazil. It's same. I mean, it's a very uh like still it's very male how do I say the opposite of feminist? You know, it's very like men are supposed to be providers, right?
Male, male
Dominant,
oriented. Yeah,
male
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 dominant.
oriented,
oriented,
male
thank you.
dominant.
So men are supposed to be providers. If they're not providing, they feel impotent, right? And so that's something. But even if they're not, uh, if they don't need the money to provide because they already, you know, built enough money to live through the rest of his life, his sense of self-worth is usually tied, the power comes from the work, right? And usually, lots of times, this comes also with not building strong relationships out of work, not maintaining their friendships, you know, not spending enough time with their children. So I mean, it's not everybody, of course, but what I see here is still a lot of bit of that. See, so for them, it's harder because they haven't built a support network. They can't call their friends crying. I'm feeling very insecure. I'm a CEO. I'm very successful, and I'm very scared. You know, just no one will feel sorry for you, right? So it's a very lonely place. And I think as women, we're here, right? I mean, I think we're more open. We don't avoid being vulnerable so much. We can be vulnerable with people we trust, right? And so I think it makes us easier for us than for them.
I can just share the story about my father because she get retired earlier than mother. Mother still work, and yeah, it was a hard period for all the family because my father not the person who express their feeling and emotions, and he kept silence for I don't know. It was like 3 or 4 months. So it was like he didn't want to talk, he didn't want to express something, but I saw that it's such a huge toughness on him. So he was so sad, he was so upset, he felt it
Mhm.
was, and he had this really man routine, like work every day to have a but yeah, it was I really afraid because I was more younger, and I really afraid
Mhm.
to touch him. Yeah, it was really tough period, and I guess in many cultures, men are the same. But yeah, I really hope like your community and our community for women at least, it's also like
Mhm.
better for our for our brain, for our nervous system. Yeah,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
it's easier to talk about. Yeah, Tara.
I think it's
Yeah.
what the question about the cultures, differences. I think it depends on what's culturally encouraged.
Mhm.
And so productivity is, let's say, the US, value
Measure of
is so much.
success.
Yes, exactly. So there's where your value is. And then if you stop that, what is it?
Mhm.
What are your connections to the people around you? And if you've always seen yourself in that role, I think it's very difficult to connect with even the people you love.
I
Mhm.
totally agree. I'm the one who asked the question, so thank you all for clarifying, and thank you for clarifying about the point where the self-worth and being like for a man being a provider, that's very, very true. I think I was relating more to the community because I come from the Middle East. I'm from Syria and moved with my parents way back when. And when my dad retired and moved to the US, after being in power in general and all that, when he came to the US, he did go through some depression because of the fact that, yes, he's like nothing here, right? And he's not providing and he's not doing anything. But I think part of what made it easier is our culture and the community and the support from family members, from friends, from neighbors. I mean, if it was, I don't know for men who retire in the Middle East, what they do, but from what I see and I hear is they're involved in their grandkids' lives, they're involved in their
Mhm.
neighbors. They go out and play cards. They meet up. So there is community support, which make it probably less impactful on their mental health than here in the US, where I don't even know who my neighbor is. You know what I mean? So I think that's
Mhm.
where I meant by the difference in culture. But as far as an internal analysis of, yes, I can no longer provide, that could definitely impact,
Mhm.
especially maybe more men than women. So, but thanks for
Mhm.
clarifying that.
Yes, Angeline. And also, girls, I want to share my tough thoughts because you told like, they involved, for example, with the grandsons and granddaughters. But I'm 37. My sister is 38, and we both still don't have children. So, and it's also like I also feel like it's my fault a little bit. So they don't have. Yeah, but I understand that it's
Yeah,
irrational,
yeah.
so it's not a good way to think. And yeah, I hope I happy that my father has now he's living in a country house, so he prefer because in a city it's really difficult for him to find out what to do. But he is now gardening and
That's
cooking
good.
delicious food. Yeah, so it's what they. But of course, by my side, I have this my transition and these thoughts also like, oh, it's my fault. They don't have someone to care about, and it's made me
Let
crazy,
me help you.
honestly.
Let me help you, Daria, because it's not your fault. Let's take your mom, for example. I mean, a woman that has been working hard and has built a career, she's not gonna feel happy staying at home taking care of her grandsons. I mean, it could be a good thing if she would live another 10 years. If she's gonna live another 40 years, that won't be enough. So, uh, even if you don't need the money, you need to find something that you can contribute to the world, right? You need to feel useful. You need to feel interesting. She's probably used to have, intellectual challenges in her life. Playing with kids all day long won't fulfill it. And I know by my experience when I had two big kids, but when they were born, both of them, I stopped for 2 years until they went to school. And I just couldn't stand, anymore the the talking only about, oh, the first months is amazing because what time are you nursing? And but then you just miss the intellectual challenge, the s- good conversations, the deepness. So it's not your role, to fill the
Yeah.
blanket, right? You're
So
thinking of how you could fix it, but
sometimes she told, yeah, sometimes she told like, oh, if I have the grandson, so I will be more quiet, more, feel more quiet to retire. I said, mm-mm, it's you will be tired, but the other way in a few months, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
she's not
sometimes
going to
it's like,
retire to, knit with her grandchildren. She's going to want to do something in another rhythm, with other stuff, taking care of herself, but being useful, I think, is, mattering. You
mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm,
there's something that you will want to name work, which is not necessarily the way we see work, but it's something you put in the world that changes the world, that changes the other person, that does some good, right? I don't think she would be able to live another 40 years without that.
yeah, let's see. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it's like that's why like finalize, and after we will give you a feedback you to you because it's like yeah, it's difficult transition and difficult periods, not just for person who are on this midlife transition, but also for family members and the people who are close, because we
Yeah.
also hesitate how to support. We also hesitate how to don't feel this ugly and bad things about yourself, like I'm not able to help her or him. Yeah, it's like that's why it's such important, and I really want to thank you for your idea of your community and for what you're doing for today's talk, because yeah, it's important for both sides, for the
Mhm.
person in this midlife transition and for people around. And the more we're talking about it, the easier I hope it will be for everyone in the future. Thank you very much.
Mhm. You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Girls, if you want to share your thoughts and emotions about today's, or have some question to Peter, feel free to
Yes,
Connor.
I was gonna ask if someone had questions.
Ina, I guess you also have a huge experience to work with women in the midlife.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I'm a holistic nutritionist and I support women over 40 who are going through the transition, physical and mental transition of time. But what I wanted to share is my personal experience. So my husband has turned 65 this year, and getting much closer to the retirement age from a corporate job. And what I've started to do is dropping some ideas into his head as to what I see he may enjoy
Mhm.
doing after either he voluntarily or involuntarily will not have to go to work. So in his case, he's been interested in dog training all his life, We've had
Wow.
close to 20 dogs during our life together. We've been married for 40 years. And so he is studying dog training. So
Wow.
we go and he trains with a trainer in another state. So
That's great. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, Lynn said like I try my best to use the word start living instead of retiring.
love it.
Yeah, it's a good
Love it.
point. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay, girls, we have just 5 minutes, so if you want to say something, yeah, Angel said like my heart is so full hearing from you, woman talk. You know, for sharing and welcome me today. Girls, you are all welcome. Yeah, and I will give a link to our chat in chat here. So if you are not, please join us because also and Pitty is also in the chat in ALMA chat. And if you will have some question
Yeah.
after, you are.
Yes, I'm in the WhatsApp group. So yeah, whenever
Yeah,
I'm here. If you want to
yeah,
chat one to one, you have a specific mother or self trouble,
yeah,
I'll
and.
be pleased
Yeah,
to
Peter,
help.
and you also feel free to send links to your account, and yeah, if you want to
Yeah.
share,
It's in
and if you,
Portuguese, but maybe you can.
yeah, and if you one day you will, yeah, have an idea to make an international group, we will be really glad.
Yeah.
To-
Can I
Yeah,
add just one small thing?
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
thank you.
I maybe I should have held my hand before, but I just wanted to say, wow, I love this talk today, all the interactions and everything. And I also work with women 40 plus, and I find well, from my own personal experience and the people that I've worked with, is that this is a great time for us because as women, because we are now a lot more confident, right? Because when we were younger, we're working a lot with old conditioning like expectations and social expectations a
Yeah.
lot, so much, and it's just so unconscious. And then when we get at a point where our kids are older, or some people don't have kids, and that's great, that's okay too, you know what I mean? And you're like, okay, so what do I want for myself? It's a time of self-discovery, and I absolutely
Mhm.
love how you brought that. And I will definitely keep in touch because this has just been a great discussion. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, please,
Yeah,
please reach out if you want, girls. Always very welcome. It's been
yeah,
a great
thank you.
talk.
Thank you. It's really inspiring. I mean, to feel this support, even yeah, just for me, it's the way to see the situation from the other side, and yeah, it's really it's like a gold. Yeah,
It's
thank you very
actually,
much,
I
girls.
think, Daria, I think it's actually very important that you brought that into the conversation as well, because
Mhm.
to support, as a child, to support your parent is different than as a wife or,
Yeah.
a sister. It's a different type of support that
Mhm.
you can give to the older person. So I also
Mhm.
appreciate you bringing that into the conversation.
And I will
Thank you.
finish that as just saying, I think this that you're doing could make her more good than a baby. You know, you really care. I mean, it's beautiful what you're doing for her. You try to be there for her. You try to have compassion, to understand. That's such a gift from a daughter. She she
Thank you.
she has a very great daughter.
Yeah, I just try to be not the solver because I'm that person like to try to fix everything, but now I try to hold
Listen.
on, don't
Yeah,
do it.
now be the listener.
Yes,
Yeah.
be the listener.
Thank you very much, girls.
All right, it
So,
was a pleasure. So you're gonna do the micro course of this talk, or you're gonna have a Zoom recording that you can send out? Because I know
yeah, I can.
several people were interested to come, but the timing wasn't good for them.
Yeah, Yeah, I guess I will send there this Zoom record as it is. Yeah, because we now in the process of remaking our platform, and it will take a time. But I don't want to hold this knowledges
This
and
information.
yeah,
Yes,
this
that would be
support, yeah, this
wonderful. Thank you.
information. Yeah, so I will send it in the chat a little bit later today or tomorrow. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Well,
girls. It was
thank you
a
so much. Have
pleasure.
a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
Have a
much.
great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.